So if you're not used to this, Life on the Streetcar being a podcast, we don't always do videos, but we have a lot of people asking us for more content in videos particularly. So we said, yes, nothing's better for the radio than video. But so we started recording these. We're going to put these on the YouTube page and get those out. Still going to keep the podcast going, but this is a new venture for us. So be on the lookout for additional episodes of Life on the Streetcar video version. And we're here today with a noted and a very well-known here Tucson artist, I'm finding out. Suzanne Villella, welcome to Life on the Streetcar.
Thanks, Tom. I'm happy to be here.
And as I understand it, Tucson is not sort of your origin. You've kind of been all over the place.
Correct. So I grew up in St. Louis.
Okay.
Came out to study art and art history at the University of Arizona. A few years later, I met a young man, and he was in the Air Force, and we traveled the world, and his last assignment was here in Tucson, and we stayed, so we have settled here.
So, and you've really kind of been embracing in the arts community. How long have you been then in Tucson?
5.5 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And were you, as you were in these different cities across the globe, were you doing art there as well?
Yes. Every time we moved, which was 13 times in 20 years, I had to find a new place to hang my work, to be represented. It was just up to me to find a home for my work as we moved.
We have in the Tucson Gallery, I've seen a lot of your work. And if you want to know a little bit more about Suzanne's backstory, you can head over to the TucsonGallery.com. We did a full interview you with a lot of your backstory on the Meet the Artist podcast. One thing I noticed about your art is it's very, has a very Southwestern feel to it. I mean, you've absorbed the Southwest and it comes through your art. So is that what happens in each one of these cities where you embrace what you're presented with and that becomes your...
Well, it's funny that you say that, because my dad is always giving me guidance, and he says you need to paint for your audience. So when we lived in Europe for 4 years, of course, most of my subject matter was European, rooftops and, walking trails and whatnot. But
no cowboy boots?
No cowboy boots. But when we moved back to Arizona, I love it so much. There was so much to embrace and to create about, so inspiring. The sunsets, the people, the cultures, the great outdoors, the big skies, the agave, the interesting vegetation that we have here. So it's really unique.
How does that come to you? Do you just go out and explore for a while and then you get this vision, or do you sort of have an idea of what it's going to be before you even get to Tucson and find out what you're looking for?
I like to be outside. I like to hike. I like to just wander and visit different galleries and different areas. So being out on the hiking trails is part of how I got into the agaves. Again, I'm always taking pictures. My boots, I have 2 boots, Partner and Pretty Tough. Those were for a show 5 years ago. My sister and I always laugh about Tucson being the wild, wild west, because it has, still has a lot of that to it. So those were super playful and fun. But I love painting the agaves and just inspired by my surroundings.
So you said you take a lot of pictures then. Do you create off of the photographs, or is that just sort of inspiration for you? Do you look at a photograph and say, okay, now I'm going to do this agave from this photo I took?
Absolutely. And sometimes I'll take the pictures intentionally knowing, boy, that's good looking. The shadow's right. The lighting is perfect. What a great painting this would make. So a lot of times I start with the image, or, some of the animals have been in our front yard, like the rabbits, or this beautiful bobcat that was kind of posing in the front yard, and I shot that one, and that actually became a painting. So you just never know what you're going to see.
Photographs shot. You didn't go out and you don't have like a rabbit hanging over your mantle or anything like that? No. I just wanted to make sure.
All photographs.
Wanted to make sure. Yeah. So then your art, you've been in Tucson then for 5+ years, but your art is in a lot of places. I mean, we have it at the Tucson Gallery, but you were in many places before that. So you got involved with like the Arts Guild pretty quickly.
Yes. I wanted a home for my work, and I wanted a creative family, which I didn't have. Being an Air Force spouse, I might meet 1 or 2 artists along the way, but there was never like an organized group putting on shows, putting on educational programs, working together. Everyone was just really independent. So I got involved with the Southern Arizona Art Guild. It is great for networking, and it led me to you all down at the Tucson Gallery.
It's why it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just educational, community service, just being around a lot of creative people, and they know someone that knows someone, and it grows your creative environment.
And then they operate a store out of La Encantada.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of artists that collect there, and it's a collaborative. So the artists do a little work there as well as.
Exactly. So if you have your work in the guild, you need to volunteer shifts. It's a not-for-profit. That's the only way they can stay in the space. But people love to be with the artists, right?
Absolutely.
Like people go to art festivals and might like a piece, but meeting the artist is a selling point. So
when you
getting this connection.
When you can get that history and that thought process and that inspiration, it really adds to looking at a piece of art. I see that all of the time.
Yeah.
And then yours in particular is interesting because you use different types of art styles. I mean, you paint, but you also have like a collage style.
Yes, exactly.
How does that all come together?
So I use acrylic paint in my work, but I found that it felt a little flat for what I wanted, the message I wanted to convey. So I incorporate paper underneath my paintings, and you can see the papers pop through, and there might be some hidden symbolism or fun surprises. It just makes the work more playful.
Yeah, there's the one that the first time I saw this, and I looked at this painting multiple times before I saw it, but it's an agave, and it's on a map.
Yes.
And so the sort of what you would see is like the leaves and the veins of the agaves. You get closer, they're streets and they're highways, and it just, once you see it, you can't unsee it, but it blends right in. It doesn't pop out necessarily. It's just fascinating to me.
It's fun because people love to find their city. They're studying something, or you have to look closely. They'll look at one of the pieces, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm from Surprise. I love seeing Surprise, Arizona on the maps because it's the additional surprise. But people might love seeing Tucson or Nogales. If they're from those areas, it just pulls them into the painting a little more.
And you 5.5 years ago is when you got to Tucson, right? So you've been in Tucson, but then you've explored Arizona quite a bit.
I love it. Yes. We've been skiing, Sedona, out to the petroglyphs, at Picture Rocks. I don't think there's enough time to explore Arizona. It is got so many landscapes, canyons, mountains, lakes.
Well, that's a perfect segue into exploring, and a perfect way to explore Arizona. That's the reason why we're airing the show this week, is because on Saturday, February 3rd, you have your own show. It's not in any other gallery. It's at the Steinfeld Warehouse, but this is your own show, and it's a very special project. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. So going back to when we lived overseas, I was really intrigued with all the playing cards that I would see at the flea markets. They were really unique and really bizarre suits and setups. And I was just really intrigued. So I started researching those a little more and getting the history of what we would consider the American playing card. And I did a 4-season series. But when we moved back to Arizona, I was like, wouldn't it be fun to celebrate the heritage, the culture, the landscape, the creatures that we see in Arizona, because there are so many. I mean, Arizona is so broad. It has so many different types of people and influences. So I created 10 mixed media playing cards originally, and they were all face cards. And we had a bikini queenie and a cowboy and a queen of denim and diamonds. And I was encouraged by a mentor to really create a whole deck of cards celebrating Arizona. And it's been a wonderful journey. And this is a series that could be endless because there's so many things going on in our state. There's so many creatures, activities, types of people.
So you're saying you've created
celebration.
So you've created a deck of mixed media art that is 56 pieces in total, all the suits, all the cards, plus the jokers. And you're saying that is like the beginning, that you might do this again with something else?
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
I've already started to create other cards that will be, so people can enjoy seeing my process, that will be at this exhibit, because I want it to be educational as well. That's part of meeting the artist and understanding, how did they get to this point? How did they create this? I think the series could be endless.
Oh,
But it celebrates Arizona. I love Arizona. I went to school in Arizona. I've moved back twice. We've settled here. There's a lot to celebrate about our state.
and then each one of and this is something I learned from you as we were exploring this project. All of the suits, they have sort of their own meaning. Like the clubs, there's a certain history behind the clubs.
Right. So clubs are summer. So each suit has a season, and each suit has a religious background or a social class. So it's just so fascinating. Some king or spades or leadership, and warriors and winter. So each club has a different meaning, and that will be explained at the show as well.
And so then all of the cards, you have the individual number and then and then the suit. So those can sort of combine to create the theme of that card.
Right.
This is incredible. How long have you been working on this?
My first playing card for this series was created in 2020.
Okay.
And then I took some time off because I was working on other...
For this series, though, but you created things before that, or that was the very first time you ever created a card was in 2020?
I first created a card in 2015.
Okay.
And did the 4 seasons.
Okay.
Because suits, spades are winter, hearts are spring, clubs are summer, and diamonds are autumn. So I took that to a complete level. And this series that will be done at Steinfeld, all of the spades have a winter theme. It's all tied into the seasons and the meaning behind the cards. Very well thought out.
I was going to say, let's talk about the intentionality of this exhibit. So a little bit more about the location, the time, and all of that stuff, because it's not just one day, it's the entire month.
The show will be hanging the whole month of February. The opening is from 4 to 9 on February 3rd. And then subsequent Saturdays in February, the gallery will be open from noon to 5.
Okay.
However, I will be there if someone wants to stop by. They can call me and have a personal walkthrough of the show.
And then you've got it set up. You're not just putting art on the walls. You've got them arranged in patterns, suits, and hands. And
yes. So I'm collaborating with Madeline Wick, who is a visual merchandising manager of the SAG Gallery up at Lon Kentucky.
oh, okay. I didn't realize that's how you guys connect.
Yeah, and she's super clever and young and fresh, and she is hanging the show based on different poker hands.
Okay.
And it's been a challenge to get one deck of cards into poker hands, and she's done an amazing job. And she also has a deeper meaning. Like one hand might be the Spanish and Mexican influences and heritage for the state of Arizona. So it's quite complex. It's not just throw them all up there. It's well thought out.
And then all of this will be explained at the exhibit. Mm-hmm. And then you've got some works in progress so people can see how these cards were layered, so to speak, and have come into life.
Correct. And we've had a deck of cards made so people can sit down and play cards.
Of actual cards, because how big are your originals?
They're 12 by 16.
Okay, a little hard to shuffle those on.
Yeah.
But they've never been displayed in totality.
Ever.
Ever.
It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just looking at some of them to get, because they're, like with some of the face cards, they're mirrors. They've got a face on the top and a face on the bottom. And as you look at that, you've duplicated that really well on these cards. It's just amazing to me, the attention to detail on some of them.
I love it. It's almost ridiculous. I make sure that the papers, even if you turn the card over, line up identically.
Right. That's just amazing to me, the amount of attention to detail that you put into these, and some of them they're all fun, but some just stand out a little bit more than others. And you talked about some of the face cards are just fun themes, and you can see where they tie in, with the cycling in Tucson or the skiing in the mountains. You got the the loosely associated with some of the mascots around the state.
Yes. Yeah.
They became the Jokers, right?
Yep. And they are funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I love about all of these pieces, if you study them, if you really take the time to look at them, I mean, read the wall tag, you'll get the idea. Why did Suzanne create this? Why is this important? But I love hiding things, whether it's a fun paper or words into each piece. So, I don't want to give anything away, but look at the Gila monster. Why is he positioned on the map where he is? So just, I think it will be entertaining if people study him. They
Like a scavenger hunt as well as an art exhibit.
Speaking of which, there will be a scavenger hunt. Yep. There will be a scavenger hunt for a free small print, and that'll be available for people to come enjoy. And I did that so people would engage more closely with the pieces. So they might have a little small part of a small image of one of the cards, and they'll have to find that. And
At the exhibit. Fun.
At the opening night, yeah.
And then you mentioned prints. I want to make sure I'm clear on this, because this is an art exhibit, and clearly you're selling your art. You're selling the originals, but you've also created reproductions, and
Yes.
so people can take home their favorite poker hand. Or
Absolutely. And I encourage them to do so. I think that's some people, will get a 4-of-a-kind of an animal maybe, or the craft drinks that we find in Arizona. Whatever people are connected to. Some people just love their favorite cards, or they want their birthday in a playing card, or they want blackjack, So if people can play with it however they'd like.
That's awesome.
Or they find it entertaining.
That's awesome. It kicks off this Saturday, February 3rd. It's going to go through the month of February. Where do people get more information on the exhibit or you?
They can go to my website at www.suzannevillella.com, or they can reach out to the Tucson Gallery downtown, who, you all have my information, or the Steinfeld Gallery. You can look online at both of those organizations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic.
And I have to tell you,
tell
I applied for a grant and was granted some support from the Arizona Commission on the Arts, and that was really a great experience. Maybe they believe in this show and think it's special too.
Well, I think, this has been rattling around in your brain for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And to see it come to life, and over the last probably 6-8 months is where I've gotten more involved with seeing how it's come together, and the excitement and energy that you bring to it. That in of itself is exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how these all, because I've never seen them all in one place and put out like that, so I'm looking forward to it.
I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to have so much fun. I think it's family friendly, it's engaging, it's unique, and it celebrates our state. It's pretty exciting.
Perfect. Suzanne, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Tom.